So let's try to create a session variable now. Okay. So let me write session and add something called loop counter. Okay. And here let me add it to be a number. So let me put, let's say 100. Okay. So what so yeah, sorry, the exposure should be session. Okay. So basically what we are going to do is it's a simple loop. I'll show you, like last time I showed you this one, a loop, right, where you can loop through a collection, right? So now we will see there is another way of actually defining a loop. Okay. So this is a session variable. Let me just create the variables first. So let's say, let me color it and say session variables. Okay. Let me create another block and let me put this as local variables. Okay. And let me create a counter. So this is actually like the max counter type thing. So and then I want a counter which I'm going to increment. So I'll take another data item and say let's say local underscore uh, counter. Okay. So yeah, let me put it black color. Okay. So fine. So now what we'll do is we'll try to loop like 100 times with a delay of 2 seconds. Okay. Talking about delay, you will notice that there is no stage for delay. So like if I open VBO or an object studio, you will see there is a wait stage. Okay. So wait stage. Okay. So this actually with this you can actually set some delay, but that is all that will be always there in the object stage. Okay. That you will not find in process, because this delay is more like waiting for a application to load or waiting for an element to appear or something like that. Okay. So it can be static or dynamic delay. So to add a delay here, so I have actually, I'll show you the code creation and stuff later, but in the environment, just to show you, I created a simple sleep logic inside. So this one. So I added a simple sleep logic. So it will sleep. So whatever milliseconds we give, like if I give 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second, so it'll sleep for 1 second. So it will not do anything. Okay. So I will try to call this object from here for the delay, because we don't have, we cannot directly put any delays using any stage, right? So for that, what we are going to use is action, right? So in the action, I'm going to say sleep in milliseconds, in let's say 2 milliseconds. Okay. Sorry, 2 seconds. Sleep, sleep for 2 seconds. Okay. So I'll say sleep for 2 seconds. I'll go to environment, then I will choose sleep, and here I'm going to mark 2000. Okay. So 2000 millisecond is actually 2 seconds, right? So this, so there is a delay. Now I have to add a counter and a loop, right? So let me add, increment the counter, so that this is a local counter, right? Let me make it 0 for the beginning, and then I say inc sorry increment local counter. Okay, and what I'm going to do is local counter plus 1 and then local counter. So I'm incrementing the local counter by 1. Okay, and setting back into the local counter again. So till here it is fine. I'm incrementing the local counter. Now I need a loop. So before taking a loop, so this is also another way to create loop. So if you are, as I said, right, we have for each loop using the loop stage, but you if you have to use like a like in Java and all, we have, right, I equal to 0, like with a counter, right? So this is how you're going to use a counter. This type of loop, just a note, okay, these type of loops where you don't use the loop stage, but you are uh, like using the anchor and all to create the loop, okay, which we are going to do, you will understand. But you have to always keep in mind that for any such loop, please always keep uh, out direction. Let's assume that you are adding a loop where you are trying to check, let's say rather than this static delay, I would have checked for an application loading. Okay, let's assume that I'm looking for an application to load, and then I'm just looping. Okay, I'm just adding a loop. So you have to be careful that sometime for some reason, if the application gets stuck and never loads, your loop will go to infinite loop. So you always should give some exit criteria or a counter criteria to make sure that after some time, even if that action does not work, the it should not go for a infinite loop. Okay, so now coming back to this example, what we are going to do is we are going to check if come out of the loop when the local counter is greater than the session counter. Okay, so when I am saying local counter greater than session counter, so if you write like this, the name also, it is easily readable. Whoever sees it, you will understand. We'll validate it once it's valid, fine, and then close it. So first will be the yes direction. Okay, for the decision. So decision, so okay, let me just quickly also talk about decision as we are using decision. So decision, if you see, decision properties looks exactly same as the calculation stage. Okay, but there is a difference, right? Because it's a decision where it says yes or no, true or false, right? Outcome will be either true or false. So you see there is nowhere you can store the output, right? Let me show you what I'm talking about by opening the calculation. So you see it's exactly same except for there is a store result area where you can, so you do some calculation and then it will be stored into a variable, right? But for decision there is no such thing where store result is not there, right? Because it's just a decision, you just say true or false. So greater than, then go this direction, less than, then go that direction. Okay, we will cover these functions which is provided by Blue Prism in the later videos or in the next video. Okay, otherwise the video will become too long. So now again, so first is the, as I said, first will be the yes direction. So if the local counter is greater than session, then it will come out of the loop, else it will go for a loop. Okay, so I'm using the anchor to connect to the increment counter. So what will happen is it will first, so let's see, okay, let's see how this works. Okay, so let's also test it. Okay, so let me okay, let me show you one more thing is, when you, if you want to debug from here, let's say I don't want to directly run, so if I run, it will start from the start, right? Let's assume I want to run from here, from the increment local counter. What I do is I right click on that stage and set next stage. Okay, so your controls directly come here. Okay, it will start from here. Now if I step over, Okay, you see the local counter has become 1, right? Because it has added. Now there will be a wait for 2 seconds. Okay, now it will check if local counter, so session counter is 100, local counter is 1, so 1 is never greater than 0, right? So it will become no, right? And then it will go and increment for the increment the counter to 2, right? So like this it will go on until it is 100. When it becomes 101, it will come out of the loop. So this is how this is going to work. Okay, so let me save it, or let me do one thing, let me publish it first. Okay, so we'll see what this does. Okay, before that let me check how it is looking now. So this is studio where we'll build. This is the control room from where we can run. This is the runtime machine, right? This is my local machine. uh, so you can have, like, in real time you can have multiple bots. So this is your runtime resources, right? Now you see this is the process, available processes, but available process is blank, right? There is nothing in that. Now if I go ahead and publish this process and save and say published the process, okay, there is an error. Oh, sorry, it didn't get linked. Okay, yeah, the link was missing. Fine, let me also delete this page and then save it. Okay, so now I published it, and is there a refresh? Yeah, so I'll go back to now I went back to session in the control room, and I'll try to refresh. See, this came up, right? Because we published it. So publishing means it will get start getting visible under the in the control room under the available processes, right? So to run it, to run a process, it is very simple. You drag and drop it to the particular machine you want to run, to the runtime resource, and see it gets created, which is with the status as pending. Okay, so now here, um, yeah, so now here let's try to start it. Okay, so if we start running, so it has started running. Okay, it is going through the loops, right? So now if I double click it, not this way, sorry, not double click, if I select this and click here, there is something written show session variables, right? See, my session variable is available here, and I can go ahead and change this session variable, edit value, and let me make it 10. Let me make it 10. Okay, and click on modify. Right now you will see that after because I have reduced it to 10, right? So it should stop after some time. Yeah, it stopped. Okay, it stopped. Okay, so why it is not visible now? Because it is not running actually. So I was thinking why it is not visible. It will be visible only when the session. So what is a session actually? What happens is when we drag and drop, it created a session, but then this session is pending, right? It is not, we have not yet started. Okay, now when we, okay, this is completed, but let me create one more and show you. So this is a session I created, but it is a pending session. Okay, now it will not be visible, but if I start running, right, uh, yeah, so as I started running, see the session variables is visible now, right? Now I can go edit and let's make it 20. Let me make it 20, modify, and done. Right now let's wait for some time, because I've increased 20 means it will be taking around 40 seconds to get this completed. Okay, sleep. So you can also see the stage it is running through. Okay, maybe it will take more. Okay, it will take some time because it's 40 seconds. So it got completed. So it ran 20 loops and then it stopped. So this is how we can actually in real time, this is how session variables can be changed. So even if you are, let's say you are running same process in 2 3 machines, you can control for each session, you can control the variable separately. Like maybe for some cases you want to run for 20 loops, for some sessions you want to run 40 loops, so you can manage. Okay, or this will look separate, or like the session variables will be separate for each session. Okay, so this session variable and this session variable will be different. Okay, I hope you understand the concept of the session variable.